Welcome everyone to the Sports Editor. It's really great to have you, and we're very fortunate to chat to Cricket Scotland's head coach, men's coach, I should say, in Shane Burger. Shane's had a very successful time with the KZN Inland team in South Africa, and also went on to coach the South African A side, and has done an incredible job with the Scotland national side. He obviously qualified for the T20 World Cup after a successful win against Oman in round one, and Scotland looks set to participate in the next T20 World Cup. Shane, really great to have you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Ryan. Good to catch up with you again.
Good stuff, my man. Shane, although it has been a bit of a while back, you look back at the T20 World Cup with a bit of pride and enjoying what's been achieved, don't you feel?
Yeah, definitely. I've had a lot of time to reflect on it now. We're already in a new year, and the World Cup was sort of the back end of 2021. I just reflect upon the sort of build up into that World Cup, the sort of preparation, thinking, the planning that went into it. We're also living in a completely different world now, having to deal with the pandemic and go through the pandemic time. So coaching has very much become not only about getting players ready from a performance point of view, but now what the pandemic has brought in terms of bubbles, having to manage players' well-being is really important, and that's really not new to me, but it's a new environment, and I guess it's testing times for a lot of people around the world, and coaches, and not only sportsmen but everybody. So that I've had a lot of time to reflect on that, and did we really do the things we really needed to do going into the World Cup to make sure that we were in a good place to be successful? And then after the World Cup, quite often you experience this massive high of what we did in round one, and you end top of the group, and you beat Bangladesh, you beat a full member, and certainly within our environment, that's the expectation and that's the belief. But to many other people, that would have been a massive shock. How does Scotland go and beat Bangladesh? And very much punching above our weight. But as a unit, we believe we can do that. But from the outside, there's a real sort of, not an expectation to do that. So that, you reflect on that, and then when you get back, you kind of expect that to still be on this high, but the reality is you come back to the normal world, and you're out of that bubble, and you're out of that euphoria of the World Cup, and you're now hit with we're in the pandemic again. It can very much be a downer. So players deal with that differently. Everybody's different. Us as staff would have probably reflected and dealt with that a lot better, or differently rather. But it's a wonderful place to be, Ryan. It's truly everything that I've ever wanted to do. I enjoyed the pressure of the World Cup, and I'm looking forward to chatting to you about some of those experiences.
No, good stuff, Shane. Yeah, and it was awesome to see how you guys went about your game. Fantastic, brilliant stuff. And I think you guys actually became almost the show of the tournament, because it's like, when Scotland play, let's go watch Scotland play, because it was really exciting. It was really, really good. But would it be fair to say that, talent aside, there was a lot of mental belief that the team can qualify for the World Cup? The guys actually felt, flip it, mentally, we can push this, we can break boundaries here.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the areas we've really been trying to develop within the unit, and look, there was certainly that belief before I arrived. I'm not suggesting that I brought that belief in the squad, because I think Scottish cricket they beat England before I arrived. That the team was in a good place. We've always tried to develop this. We have to keep punching above our weight in many ways. It's not always about the resources. It's not always about the lack of facilities, the bad weather, whatever else. You've got to kind of overcome those battles, those challenges, to make sure that you can keep beating the best and biggest teams in the world. Look, what the T20 stage provides you is it provides you with an opportunity, because the game is shortened, to compete with anybody in the world. T20 cricket has also shown us that you need one or two guys to stand up on any given day, and they can almost single-handedly win you a game of cricket. Whereas in the 50-over version, you probably need to compete for a longer period of time, and that's something that Scotland did against England on that famous day. And in the test match environment, you've got to compete for even longer. So that really does test your skill. So look, it's a very mentally challenging game, but if you can honestly create a belief within your unit, and you can build a fire of belief that you can go out and beat anyone, even at 53 for 6 against Bangladesh, when the chips are down and everything's going against you, there's still that belief. There's still a team sitting there that knows that they can still go on and win the game. For me, that is really probably what encompassed the spirit and the culture of where the team was during the World Cup.
No, awesome, Shane. Really good to see. And just, you touched on it a bit earlier. There was like a bit of a shock. And I think, especially from the opposition, could you maybe expand a bit more as to what happened? And because it really was like you guys just blew it out the water. It was amazing to see, Shane. And I think there really was a shock from opposition. You guys went in there, and if I can use the term, like quite hard. And you went all guns blazing, and you weren't prepared to stand back and accept defeat.
Yeah, so look, a sign of a good team always is if you can win probably from when you're not expected to win. So I mentioned previously it being at 53 for 6. I thought Bangladesh played incredible cricket to get us into that position. The way they bowled in the power play, the amount of pressure they put us under, their skill levels were really high. And at 53 for 6, we were really behind the 8 ball. It took a phenomenal partnership from Chris Greaves and Mark Watt, two of the real sort of fighters within the team, to, Chris Greaves playing on the international stage for the first time. It tells you a lot about his character coming out and not having a lot of experience behind him in terms of international experience. Mark Watt being the real sort of competitor he is. So for them to put together that partnership and really build a real sense of belief again within the team was crucial. And then when we had a score on the board, it wasn't game over. We had to go out and defend it for our lives. Our fielding had to be spot on. Our fielding was spot on in that game. And our catching in particular was excellent, a lot of the boundary catching. And then also to put, a bowling attack in that sort of environment, to go out and deliver and execute the way we did was truly, satisfying. And that's all you want to see from your team, is you want to see a real fighting display. You're not going to win every single game of cricket, but you're going to be very proud of your team if you're going out and giving your best. That's all you can ask for. And if a team outplays you, or their skill levels are simply better than you, sometimes you can't really control that except by going away and trying to get better. So, we went away from round 1, topping that group, being in a fantastic space, and then really sort of learning a lot in round 2, because we didn't bring out the sort of cricket that we knew we could bring out. And that was probably a disappointing thing from our side, where the expectation level was, okay, we got through round 1, but actually we still want to make an impact in round 2. I still believe we should have gone on and won 2 or 3 of those games in round 2. So that's a sort of level of performance we set ourselves at.
No, definitely, Shane. And if I can just touch on that, because it was great to see you guys go through the group stage. And, maybe it was a bit of pressure that hit some of the guys who maybe were there for the first time. Do you think it also contributed where it was almost caught up in the moment and said, wow, this is happening so quickly, and we've really got to turn it on now, because now the big dogs have arrived, excuse the term, and you guys are part of it. And it's like, wow, okay, now who do we turn to? What do we do? But it is, again, all about gaining experience.
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of what you said there is spot on, Ryan. You walk into not a different environment, but you walk into an environment where you're playing India, for example, and the lowest earner in the Indian team is probably earning more than the whole Scottish organisation put together. So there's a real expectation that comes with that. Suddenly, your game might be watched by 1 billion people, whereas the sport is not that mainstream in Scotland. So pressure does weird and wonderful things to players. I must add, though, this unit and a lot of the players that were at the World Cup have experienced the World Cup before. It's not as though it was their first rodeo. They've been at a World Cup before. They would have played against big teams before. Some of the players have played in big sort of competitions and played in various formats before. So there's a lot of experience within the unit. For me, our skill level at times just let us down, and that, especially from a batting point of view, none of our top order guys really managed to get any sort of significant scores over 30, even through round 1, really, but we were able to make up for it in different departments. But in round 2, we could really see without getting those sort of scores on the board, it was never going to be, your bowling attack can be as good as they want to be. It's always going to be tough to defend. So we just never managed to put in that really good batting performance that allowed us to really set games up or chase in any fashion. And then there's various other areas. The biggest compliment I can give probably our team is, the last game against Pakistan. I thought for the first 10 overs of that game, our bowling, our fielding, and the way we communicated, the way the guys interacted, our belief almost shone out on the screen again, and it really felt like we belonged. You know, there were also times against New Zealand where we showed that we can mix it with the best in the world. You know, New Zealand went on to play in the final of that competition, and they're a wonderful unit. And then you that belief comes back again. There are moments where that belief is back, but ultimately, to be a good team, you've got to do it consistently and for longer periods of time.
Absolutely, Shane. No, you summed it up brilliantly there, but it must be encouraging when you've got a number of players standing out, such as Chris Greaves, George Munsey, Brad Wheel, and a great captain in Calcutta. You know, you got to be happy with that squad. But I'm sure they'll continue together for a few more years.
Yeah, look, I'm a firm believer age is just a number always, Ryan. You know, it doesn't determine necessarily for how long you can play for. I think other things determine how long you play for. Sometimes there's factors that you sometimes can't control that keep you playing for longer. So, in guys like Carl's case, for example, still playing when he's 37, moving on to 38. You know, Callum, Richie, a large majority, especially of our batting unit, is probably over 30. So we also have a duty to make sure that the next generation of cricketer coming through is able to come out in a World Cup and perform, just like Carl, Richie, Callum, George. You know, George is nearing on late 20s now. He's becoming a real sort of mainstay in the team, and someone that we expect to go out and perform and do amazing things that we know he can do in T20 cricket. But yeah, I wouldn't look, the team is aging, but with that brings experience. And ultimately what will dictate these guys playing for a longer period of time is, you know, what sort of leaders can they be within the unit? How fit can they be? Can they keep up with the younger lads in terms of fielding, running between the wickets, and all the sort of criteria you use to make sure that you're hitting all your KPIs in T20 cricket, you know. So one thing we found is, you know, the use of performance data analysis now and all that stuff is really shot on. And, you know, every team would have 2 or 3 people that are working with them. And a lot of these really good players now are really ahead of the game in terms of knowing the player that they're playing against really well. So, you know, all the other teams would have done their homework in terms of how do I need to bowl to a Calcutta? What are the things I need to do? And cricketers are really advanced on that side of things nowadays, which is fantastic. That's where the game needs to be and should be. And I suppose we still need to play catch up in a couple of areas, but in the areas that we might be playing catch up in, we certainly don't lack in the other areas. You know, we have that real sense of belief and passion, and you just got to watch how the guys sing the national anthem. It's a wonderful sight, and it's fantastic to be involved in it.
I think Scotland's got the best national anthem in the world. It's awesome. It really is. But yeah, Shane, I know you guys are busy, but if I'm not mistaken, the next T20 World Cup is this year because of just all these COVID complications. But how are things looking for you with regards to that? Are you guys on track? Everything looking okay?
Yeah, we're really fortunate, Ryan, that we have another World Cup so soon because you know you want to sort of build on the momentum that you've created. One thing Scottish cricket probably hasn't had for a long period of time is a real sort of consistent schedule. Whether that's because you're an associate member, whether that's because of the pandemic's played havoc and you haven't been able to play cricket, you know, that's just the way it's been. And what we have in 2022 is a lot of cricket. We've got a lot of ODI cricket, a lot of Cricket World League 2 catching up we need to do, and that's the qualification for the 50 over World Cup in 2023. And then we have an amazing opportunity to be in Australia and play another T20 World Cup at the back end of the year. So what we're going to find is moving into our training period now, things are going to get really busy for the whole year, and we're going to have to be really smart as to how we train, how we prepare, but more importantly, how we manage the players' workloads throughout the year, because we're probably going into an environment that we haven't, or for a lot of the players haven't gone into before. It's going to be new territory for a lot of the players. And when you've got a couple of older guys in the team, you've got to make sure that you're managing their workloads. You know, some of them have kids, they've got families. For a large majority of them, there's that balance. You know, life isn't just about cricket. And also, you know, as much as we are perceived to be a professional unit, the guys are not getting paid as if they were a professional player. So some of the guys have got to go out and find various forms of earning money to survive and keep playing the game and keep chasing the dream. And that's a very different environment to be working in too. You know, where some of the countries can just focus on really being a professional cricketer, whereas in Scotland you don't have the opportunity to look after every player in the way that you want to, and you've got to find other methods. And there's got to be a real sort of, you know, not only a belief from the player, but a real sort of work-life player management sort of balance that they have to bring to the table.
No, definitely. Yeah, here. So it is a lot of work. But Shane, I'm pretty sure your efforts and the way the guys carry themselves and how much they love the game is creating a bit more of a light and a spark and an enjoyment of cricket in Scotland that much more.
Yeah, the game has definitely grown since the World Cup. There's no doubt that we have a few more fans, whether that's in Scotland, whether that's other places around the world. It was great to be getting a lot of support from South Africa, where a lot of my friends and people that I know from back home were starting to support Scotland, which is wonderful to see. And yeah, look, ultimately we have a duty to honour the badge and inspire a nation. That's something we speak about quite often within the unit, and we want to make sure that every boy, girl, man or woman picking up a cricket bat, not only in Scotland, wants to play the game, but for the right reasons, you know. And it's a game that has an opportunity to allow everybody to play, and that's the wonderful thing. Whether you're really good at it, whether you're not good at it, whether you have a disability, you know, you just have the opportunity to play cricket, and that's great. And I suppose we really want to see that grow within Scotland. We want to chase the other sports. We want to make sure that we are the sport of choice. And we have a real duty to do that as a team. And that was one of the inspirational things we were trying to create within the World Cup.
Well, that's an interesting statement there, to be the sport of choice, Shane, because I know Scotland obviously love their football, you know. Do you have a particular football side you support?
Oh, yeah, you're putting me under pressure now.
It must be Rangers or Celtic. Really.
I've always supported Manchester United. That's always been my team since I was a young boy. But you know, in Scotland, I don't necessarily have a specific team, but it's just incredible to see. You know, football's like a religion in these parts of the world, and most people will do anything to get a season ticket to go support their team, and that's great. You know, it's amazing how sport can shift people's lives and play a massive part in people's lives, which is fantastic. And you know, hopefully cricket gets to the same stage as sort of the football stage can do, not only in Scotland but around the world.
Yeah, and I think it really, really can, Shane. But before I elaborate a bit more on my thoughts, I want to ask you one more question. And, you know, it has been a lot of hard work to get where the guys are right now, the squad, without a doubt. But I really believe effort is something you're not scared of, you know, from a personal perspective. You're happy to put in as much effort as necessary to get to where you want to go.
Definitely, Ryan. It's definitely a driver for me in life. You know, I'm a far happier person when I'm busy and I'm doing what I love, which is being a part of cricket. And you know, I truly believe it's a privilege to be able to make an impact in someone's life every single day of your life. You know, that you can shift someone's career in a different direction, or you can try and motivate a player to do certain things. And I'm blessed that I've got a wonderful staff unit around me that really supports and helps and guides me, you know. So when I'm maybe lacking in certain areas, they can really top up in those areas. So yeah, I'm really fortunate to do what I do, Ryan, and I get my energy from people. I get my energy from going out and working hard. And look, we're all allowed to have time away in life, and we're allowed to have holidays and breaks. And I think it's important to get a real sort of balance in life. And that's something I've had to learn. Life isn't just about cricket, as I mentioned earlier. So there's a real balance that comes with that. But look, I've had enough time now to reflect and have a bit of a holiday. I can't wait to get back involved and do what I love.
No, excellent. Well, we're glad you continued with cricket, Shane. It's a very good choice. Well done. So I just want to ask you a question. Focusing on the UK holistically now, you know, England have got players falling out of the trees. Ireland are really doing a great job. They're trying so hard to get to where we are. We've chatted at length about Scotland and how you guys are growing the game, but there is sort of like a vibe there in terms of cricket growing. What do you think sort of led to that? You know, why is there such almost like a hunger and desire to actually take cricket that much more further? And I'm talking about all the countries there in the UK.
Look, I think, what's wonderful is to see how the other countries that are surrounding us, not only your islands, your Netherlands, but even your other countries in Cricket World League 2 that we're currently playing. If I think of a USA, a UAE, and Oman, to see what Oman did at the World Cup and the facility that they've built is absolutely fantastic to see how the game, that's a cricket mad country over there. You get in the bus and you drive to the ground, and the only ground in Oman that has grass is the one that we're playing on. All the other grounds, they play on sand. And it's when you see the sort of passion, and I see what the USA are doing currently and how they're trying to build cricket, and it's just wonderful to see that the game is growing. Does the game need more support in terms of the associate countries? Of course, we all need more support. We all need more resources. I think everybody's trying to catch the Indias of the world and the Australias, and the one thing you create when you become one of the best in the world at it is people are always trying to catch you, and they're trying to follow you, and they're trying to make sure that they oust you away from that top position, So yeah, the associate nations are in a position now where they're probably playing more cricket that they have done previously. So I think the ICC has provided more cricket, but I think we're craving even more cricket, Ryan, because we want to keep getting better, and that's probably where the game is at the moment. So we have to keep growing the game in Scotland. We've got to keep making sure that we're providing facilities. We've got to keep upgrading our own facilities in Scotland. We have many, many challenges that we face, but one thing we do have in abundance in Scotland is people who want to play the game. The game is healthy in terms of the club level. There's a lot of people that play cricket in Scotland, I think more so than many would even know about. One of the things that really impressed me was I had a walk through Scotland the one day on a club cricket day, and within the sort of space of a mile or 2 miles radius, I watched 10 games of club cricket being played, and that was fantastic. That was in Edinburgh alone. So that's happening all over Scotland, which is brilliant. So there's far more cricket being played than people might be aware of.
Yeah, and in my perspective there, Shane, I think that's actually going to be your strength, is the fact that the guys want to grow the game and they're desiring to learn more about it. And for me, that's a strength, really. It's like you can just keep getting better and better and better. You're not on a plateau, you're just moving up. Excellent, Shane. That's really good to hear. But just your thoughts quickly on England versus Australia. What happened there? Because that was a proper hiding. But England have such depth. So where do you think a side could lose in that regard?
Yeah, I'm sure everybody's got their own opinions. And look, it's always, I suppose, speaking as a coach now, it's always easy to throw your opinion in when you are probably not involved in the setup. You're not too familiar with what is exactly going on there. There might be all sorts of challenges they might be facing. And when I talk about challenges, people say, oh, they get paid enough. They should be doing this. They should be doing that. And quite often it's very easy to say that. But, to ultimately get the best out of your players, it comes down to making players accountable. Are you providing the right sort of training environment for them? Are you giving them everything they need to be able to go and perform? Australia is not an easy place to go to. The environment, the crowds, the conditions are tough. But it's also it can be very unfamiliar for England because a lot of those players have been there before. So I suppose there's a balancing act between, is the culture right? We've seen quite a few videos being leaked and whatever else, but is the culture really right? I'm sure, I have no doubt that coaching staff will be waking up every single day trying to make sure that it's getting better. I have no doubts about that. But are the correct decisions being made? Is the structure right? Those are a lot of the questions I can't answer until you're involved in the environment. Only then will you know. They certainly need to improve their batting, that's for sure. And I think that's an area that a lot of people have been speaking about. Is I think the red ball game has really exposed a lot of batsmen, probably in the last couple of years, whether that's the pandemic's got something to do with it and we're not playing enough red ball cricket, or whether the emergence of the white ball game. Sometimes you've got to be careful of what you dream of and what you want in life, because England desperately wanted a World Cup, but maybe it might be to the detriment of their red ball game. So they put all their eggs in one basket, not necessarily all in one basket, but they had this huge commitment to white ball cricket, and they had a fantastic vision and a philosophy in white ball game. And they've got to receive a lot of credit for that. But has that really taken away a lot of the real sort of value they see in the red ball game. I don't know the answers to that, and that's probably questions they'll be asking themselves in reviews when they get home and everything else. So look, I'm sure there's a plan in place for them to get better. I have no doubt that they know that getting drilled the way they did is not good enough. They'll be reflecting themselves and putting themselves, looking in the mirror themselves, I'm sure. But it'll be interesting to see how they come back from this, because every team's experienced that you can get drummed like you did there, but it's how you come back from something like that always, which ultimately shows you where you are as a team.
Fair summary, Shane. Well summed up again, as usual. Yeah, there we go, Shane. Brilliant. But look, you coached in South Africa. You quite your hands on there, but South Africa are going to be going to New Zealand. Quite an important test series there. Do you feel South Africa can climb the test rankings, especially given the performance against India, in South Africa? Is there the possibility that rankings could go further for South Africa?
Ryan, if I didn't answer yes to that question, I think as a South African, you should be shocked, because we're a very we're a resilient nation. When you grow up in South Africa, you grow up tough. As a sportsman, you have the opportunity to train and play in some of the best conditions in the world in terms of weather. We've got amazing weather. We've got a fantastic school system that is a conveyor belt for producing cricketers. One thing South Africa is never short of is talent and having that next young cricketer coming through. You just got to look at some of the really good performances in the Under-19 World Cup to know that there's a conveyor belt of cricketer that I'm talking about coming through the system. I suppose, can we go out and perform? Absolutely, because I know that there's enough good players within that unit to go out and perform there. You're covering all skill sets. You've got a good batting unit. You've got an experienced batting unit. You've got, you've got spinners that you can choose from. You've got good seamers. So if they're just wise, if they select the right sort of players that are going to suit those conditions, if they have the right strategies, if they put all of that in place and try eliminate all the outside noise that is currently there in terms of the challenges that they might be facing, I have no doubt they can go and give New Zealand a good run for their money. What they need to be very aware of is don't underestimate how well and how drilled New Zealand are. They're a fantastic unit. They are just a good bunch of guys that go out and are ultimately professional and have shown in every single format that they compete in. They go out and they put in pretty good performances. So they're not going to be an easy unit, but I think if South Africa play their cards right and they get their selections and their strategy right, they can beat anyone.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's good. I think that, again, that just bodes well for Test cricket. It's something, again, to look forward to. It's very, very good. But Shane, just a general question, something that I've sort of been thinking about is 50 over cricket in trouble, in the sense that, it's all the hype of the T20 World Cup, it's the RPL, it's this, that, the guys can play around the world, T20 cricket. And I think Test cricket should never lose its love, because it is the purest form of the game. So that sort of leaves 50 over cricket in the balance. I don't know, just a thought there. Is it in trouble? Will guys still want to play it as much? Your thoughts on that?
I don't see it in trouble necessarily, but it's interesting that, you look at county cricket, that they've probably devalued the 50 over structure a little bit more. And it's interesting, after winning a World Cup, that they would decide to do that, so they put a lot of emphasis on the T20 game. I suppose the T20 game is your real sort of money earner, let's be honest. So commercially, you could probably make the big money out of it, and it brings a certain crowd to the game. I think 50 over cricket and Test cricket are different crowds that you have coming to the game. It's very rare nowadays, I think, that you have a real sort of person that will watch and absolutely love every single format. Every single person likes different things about every different format. Personally, I love the 50 over game. I think it provides you with an opportunity to test yourself in terms of your skill sets for a longer period of time, as I spoke about earlier. So as a bowler in T20 cricket, you might not have the opportunity to come back if you bowled a poor over, but in 50 over cricket, you can bowl a couple of different spells, or you can bowl a poor spell and you can get back in the game again by bowling another spell. So, and it's the same with batting. You've just got that little bit longer just to really sort of play the longer knock. I don't think the white ball game is ever going to be in trouble, because I think commercially people want to watch it. The 50 over World Cup attracts huge crowds. The T20 World Cup attracts huge crowds. I suppose it's about getting the right balance. And I think we as coaches and people who various stakeholders within the game have a duty to make sure that all the formats continue to go. Because I think it's so great that you've got 3 different formats. It's very rare probably in sports where you've got 3 different ways of playing the game and people can specialize and they can really sort of dip into what they like. Whereas in some other sports, you don't have that.
No, true. Interesting. Well, that's good. As long as cricket keeps moving forward and is looked after, it's very important. Shane, as we sort of draw towards an end, just from a big picture point of view or a holistic point of view, looking forward to the year, exciting times ahead for you, do you believe?
Definitely. If I look at the experience we had last year at the World Cup, I look at the amount of cricket we've got ahead. I look at potentially the transition of where Scottish cricket's going to, in terms of getting a few of the younger guys involved. That's really exciting, especially from a coaching point of view, because you want to see that next generation come through, and ultimately you want to see them what legacy the current generation might leave in the team. That for me is a really exciting bit. And then, from a personal level, to be able to go to another World Cup, to potentially qualify for a 50-over World Cup, is something that some people might dream of, and I'm incredibly fortunate to be in a position where we can experience that. So we respect it, we remain humble, we enjoy it every single moment. But the key for me, Ryan, is waking up every day and making sure that you are personally trying to get better. You keep learning and you keep striving to push your career forward. I think the day you feel you know it all and you think your ego gets massive as a coach, I feel that can be a pretty dangerous place to be in. So yeah, we really are excited. We're looking forward to the year, and I have no doubt that Scottish cricket is going to keep flying the flag really, really high.
Oh, excellent, Shane. Great to hear. Wishing you well, and I'm definitely going to follow to see how you guys go along. But yeah, it's awesome to see the work that you guys have put in and then some of the benefits that are coming afterwards. So well done, Shane. Really, really good stuff. Have you any chance still in contact with Jonathan Trott at all? Is he still working with you guys?
So Trotty, I chat to Trotty quite often. He's now actually the batting coach down at Warwickshire. And Trotty, it was great getting to know him better, because I didn't know him that well before, So I got the opportunity when he came with us to know him better, and he's just a great bloke. Okay. He's a great bloke, and he's got different ways of doing things. He's quite an eccentric character. But he was really good for our unit. When he was with us for a month, he brought a real sort of sense of calm and direction with the batting unit, and the guys really enjoyed him. But to answer in a long-winded way, yes, I still keep in touch with him.
Oh man, appreciate your time. Have a lekker weekend.
Yeah, you too. Take care and keep in touch, okay?
Thank you so much for your time.
Appreciate it, Ryan. Thank you, and thank you for the exposure and all the work you're doing in terms of sports. So appreciate it.